Okay, we're up to Berachos Tezayin Amid Aleph. We are at the Mishnah and halachas of Kriya Shema, continuing along. Umanim, these are workers, and the shaila is, can they be mafsik their work for Kriya Shema? To what extent? Korim Barosh Elon, or Barosh Handibach. If they're working in a tree, or they're working at the top of a stone fence, right? They can say Kriya Shema up there, as opposed to coming down to be mabatal from the malacha to say Kriya Shema. But regarding Shmoneh Esrei, where they have to be mechaben and stand, then they can't do that in the beginning, top of a tree or a fence. Second halacha, chasen patim Kriya Shema laila. The chasen is pat from Kriya Shema the first night. So why is that? It's because he's Torah the mitzvah. He's Torah the mitzvah. He's Torah with the mitzvah of the bia. It's machloikas between the Rambam and the Rabbi. If that's only going on Kriya Shema Shel Ma'ariv, if it's also going on Kriya Shema Shel Shachris. It's mashma that the Rambam says on both, and the Sefer, the Rav Manoach says in the name of the Rabbi, right? Only Kriya Shema Shel Ma'ariv would be part of it, not Kriya Shema Shel Shachris, since it can't be boiled during the day. Laila Rishayna by Motzei Shabbos. The tour is until Motzei Shabbos, 4 days. Again, we had this earlier in Masech the Ksubas actually. And if you didn't do the bia, Maisa Rabbi Gamliel Shenasa Isha, Rabbi Gamliel got married, but Karol Laila Rishain, and he laying the first night. So Amalei Talmida, the Tim said the Matena Rabbeinu, you taught us, Rabbi, Shechasim Patim Kriya Shema. So how are you learning Kriya Shema? So Amlahem, Eini Shamei Lachem, Levatel Himeni Malch Shemayim. I'm not going to listen to you to Levatel Al Malch Shemayim as you gain by saying Kriya Shema Afilu Sha'achas. So usually when the Mishnah brings a case and it brings a maisa, the maisa is to support the halacha that you just brought. To bring a maisa that contradicts it, or what's known as the maisa listar, that you don't do. So apparently over here, this is a maisa listar. In fact, you went ahead, you said that a chasen's patim Kriya Shema the first night, and then you bring a maisa with Rabbi Gamliel that in fact he didn't do that. So if you look at Tosfos, right, the third Tosfos down, Ma'aser Rabbi Gamliel Shenasa Isha B'Kara Kriya Shema V'Laila Rishayna, Lav Ma'aser Lister. It's not a Ma'aser Lister, which would not be appropriate. The Kamash Malon in Gadolhu, he's telling me a halacha. That halacha that we say Chatzin Patum Kriya Shema, it's a regular guy. But if he's a Gadol such as Rabbi Gamliel, Ubotiach Ba'atzma Shiyochel Eskaven, and he's sure that he's able to have Kavana, Uroy Litel Es Hashem, then Harishus Biyadi could do it. This man is will be passing that everyone's is chayiv because no one has like Kavana anyway. But again, that would be not a Maisa lister. Says the Gemara, Tanraban, Humanim, the workers, Koire Beroisha Elon, they read at the top of the tree, Kriya Shema, Beroisha Nidvach, and the top of the fence, the stone fence, like we saw in our Mishnah. Umispalim, and they can say Shmoneh Esrei, Beroish Hazayis, Beroish Hateina, at the top of an olive tree or the top of a fig tree. Yeshar Kol Ilonas Yordan Lamata, but any other Elon, they would have to come down and mispalim, and they would end up in. What's unique about the Zayish tree and the Eina tree? Rashi says they had a lot of branches. So since they had a lot of branches, there wasn't a concern that you would go ahead and fall down, because you'll be able to be caught. So therefore, you'll be able to have kavanah, and therefore you can daven Shmoneh Esrei. Rabbi says since there's a lot of branches, there's a tremendous tircha of going up and going down. Therefore, you could stay in your place. So there are two drachim how to go ahead and explain why a tena tree, a fig tree, and a zayas and an olive tree would be different than in any other tree. So we're hearing the Bryce is something we did not hear in the Mishnah. We're hearing that the fact that these two trees you'll be able to daven Shmoneh Esrei as opposed to any other tree, which you'd not be able to daven Shmoneh Esrei at the top of the tree. Ubalabayis benkach ubenkach, abalabayis benkach ubenkach, it doesn't make a difference whether it's a tena tree or any other tree. In other words, if it's not a shiloh of being mevatel from malacha, yarid lamata, should go down the tree mispalo. Because really you don't have yishuv adas in the tree. By worker, we're every second counts. Halavai the Indian doing the work properly. Therefore, you stay at the top of the tree if it's a tena tree or a zayish tree, because you want to go ahead and maximize your workday. Mashenkin, it's a balabas, even if it's a tree like that has a lot of branches, and you're not concerned, right? You would have to come down. You would not be able to daven with it. Rami lei Rav Mori Bara Debas Shmuel. Rami Rav Mori asked Rav Mori Barod Bashmuel Rava Rami Bar. Excuse me, Rav Mori, the son of the daughter of Shmuel. The Gemara in Chav Gimel in Ksuba says Shmuel's daughter was captured. You don't call him, and on Leilenu she was violated and impregnated by a guy who later became a Jew called Eser. But since the Geyusa, when he was a guy, he impregnated her. We call Miyakis Rav Mori after her. So, and sometimes it's called Bas Rachel, L'Rava. He has to find this theory. Tanan, Umanim Koirim Bereisha Elon. Umanim, they read at the top of a tree. Ubereisha Nidvach, and at the top of a stone fence. Alma Loiboy Kavana. When they say Kriya Shema, smash me, you don't need Kavana because you can't have such good Kavana up there. Urimino es Yostira. HaKoireh Shema Tzar Shechavna Sliba. Shnema Shema Yisrael. Well, Halun Oimer Haskes. Listen up, Shema Yisrael. Mala Halun Bahaskes by listening, meaning having Kavana. Avkam Bahaskes. So Rabbi says, have you need, Tosa speaks not after the first parsha, but the first pasuk. So first pasuk you need a kavana for. So how can you say that at the top of a fence or at the top of a tree? Ishtik. So Rava was remained silent. And Amalei, Rava told Rav Mari, did you hear anything about this? So Amalei, so Rav Mari told him, Hachiyam Rav Sheshes, Hushe betelim l'lachdan. That's dafka is you mevatel melacha b'kairin. If you know, so you can mevatel. If you mevatel from melacha, you mevatel from your work, b'kairin, right? Then you're able to go ahead and learn Kriya Shema. In other words, when can you learn? When you need Kabbana? If you can battle from Malacha, if you came from Malacha, you would not need Kabbana. But Tanya is a value based on it's a kasha. You see that you could read even while doing Malacha. Like kasha, have a perik rishon, have a perik sheni. First perik you need Kabbana, you would stop working. Perik sheni, you continue to work. Lav dafka perik rishon, it can even be the pasuk rishon. This is according to Rabbi. Taisa says. Work is we're doing malach balabayis, current Kriya Shema, mevorchim l'fanei lachrecha. They lay in Kriya Shema and they can say the brachas before and afterwards. Boichem piton, they can eat. They're able to eat and mevorchim l'fanei lachrecha. They're able. In other words, these are things that you're able to do and not be considered that you're taking these things on the job. You can also eat and make a bracha l'fanei lachrecha. And mispalan tefillah shmon esrei, you're able to daven shmon esrei. It doesn't mean like right after eating. It means these are two all different things you can do, A, B, and C, not in the other. Because Kriya Shema and Tefillah has to be some cool with Tefillah. In your you can't be you can't go ahead and daven for the Yamid because that's going to take you a longer time. But you're nice and kapayim, and if you're a kohen, you can't go ahead and do it because it's going to take a longer time. These are things you'll not be able to do in Hilchos Derech Eretz regarding what actually Hilchos Chayshim Mishpat regarding Dinei Mamanis. You'll be taking advantage of your balabas. But Tanya, this is a dayim in your ches. You can't even daven the full Shemon Esrei. You have to daven the abridged version, which we'll see is the three beginning brachas, the middle brachas abridged, and the three end brachas. Rav Sheshet lekasha, Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua. Right, Rabbi Gamliel who permits havinenu, and Rabbi Yeshua who says no. Rabbi Yeshua, my area poilim, I feel called a nami. Why dafka poilim? Any person. If you're working for schar, then enachinami, you have to say the short version. If you're doing the suda, then you can say the whole version. Because again, if you work for your suda, it's understood that you can eat. But Tanya, a poilim shoyoitis araya, a Tanya poilim shoyoisim locha etzel balabas, kairin, kriya shema mispalin, v'oichlin pitan, the aim of vorchen lefanecha. They can't go ahead right. The aim of vorchen lefneihem. Aval mevorchen la'achrecha. Oil ekuntin the aim mevorchen lefaneha. So we bring as a raya the poilim hoyoisen malacha etzel balabayis kairin kriya shema mispalin v'oichlin pitan the aim mevorchen lefaneha. They don't make a bracha beforehand because it's not minat Torah. Al mevorchen la'achreim shtayim. You make two brachas nach brachas. Case savara two brachas. Bracha rishon tikuna. That's when the Moshe was mitaking. And Shniya, the second bracha b'seyach b'berachos aretz, you begin saying La'idei Lecha, the koilin b'nei Yerushalayim, and you go ahead and incorporate in that the bracha b'nei Yerushalayim and the bracha of aretz, and v'toich berachos noida. Because again, medam amurim, this place b'scharon, that's all the people who work for schar. They have to abridge versions to get back to work. Avleisim b'sudasa, here's Uriah, af shehaya bal abayis mo'isavim laham. Even the bal abayis is sitting with them, you can bench and make brachas in a normal manner. So again, the Bryce that said, I said earlier, Rabbi Gamliel is the one who said that Yud Ches brachas, not Mein brachas. Rabbi Yeshua is the one who said Mein brachas. Rabbi Yeshua is the one who says you say Havinenu. So therefore, Rabbi Yeshua, we said that Rabbi Yeshua wanted to say that the one that said that the one Mein Shmona Esrei, that would be according to Rabbi Yeshua. The one that says Yadav Neiv Shmona Esrei, that would be according to Rabbi Gamliel. Okay, the Zman said people we're not makbid. You can make all 4 brachas. It's in Shulchan Aruch Siman Kuf Tzadik Aleph. People are not makbid on every single second. Go ahead and hold the guy accountable. Even if you work for schar, you can bench and daven. He rented him that they can make the brachas correctly. The shift of sleep mitzvah. When you're sitting in your house or going or lying or mitzvah, then you put from Kriya Shema. Someone's getting married to a basula paita, you be part of Kriya Shema because he's a tirda of the mitzvah of bia. There's almana chayev, but since she is already a buula, then she would be chayev in Kriya Shema. My mashma, what do you see from this pasuk? These halachas. So Amra Papa, Ki Derech, V'shivtach V'eisecha V'lechtecha V'derech. Just like derech is rishus, you have a derech to go and slav dafka for a mitzvah. Afachanami rishus, when you're sitting in the house of rishus. Mashen can't be sitting in the house for a mitzvah, then you'll be part of. Maybe v'lechtecha means you're going for a dvar mitzvah, and still you're supposed to say Kriya Shema. So how do you know that that Isaac in a mitzvah patam and a mitzvah? So the Gemara came lemakro belechta. But my belechtecha, shmamino belechtecha didachu de mechayev. In your goings, in your chayev, but had the mitzvah for tilas. But if you're going for a mitzvah, you would be patam on the base. Yihachi my area hakoines as absula. Why do you care if you again be oisik for mitzvah? So even almana, I feel koines almana nam you be oisik for mitzvah. You should patam kriya shema. Why limit it to a basula? And for the Gemara, there's a difference. Hachi tarid v'hachi v'tarid. In one case, by the basula you're tarid, by the buli you're not. By the almana you're not tarid. You're not trouble. Says the Gemara. So you're telling me that trouble is a reason for betur. Let's say you have a cargo ship with a lot of load on it, and you hear tremendously bad news that it's sunk. So you have tremendous agnes nefesh, tremendous tirda. I'm telling you, you're part from Kriya Shema. Says the Gemara. And we know that you're not. An oval is chayiv. An oval is chayiv. No mitzvahs in the Torah. Because it says glory. That when the Navi, because Baruch told Yecheskel, your wife's going to die, and we learn on many halachas of Avelis there. This your glory is upon you. Meaning differently as opposed to other Avelim, you would wear your tefillin, but other Avelim would not wear the tefillin. So what do you see over here? You see that a tirda, an oval is a tirda, and yet he's right, he's chayiv in mitzvahs. So how can you say that a chassan just because his Torah is part of the mitzvahs? So Am Yehasam over there tirda the rishus. There's a big difference. Over here, he's Torah tirda the mitzvah, but kind of bia for a peer review. Hashem came over there, that's a tirda the rishus. To go ahead, it's not a tirda the mitzvah by the ovel, it's a tirda the rishus. Even though he has avelis, repeats, and elis, yichas, and handle, and he's not chayiv to mitzvah on that, right? But hocha Torah tirda the mitzvah over here, he's Torah tirda the mitzvah. Says the Mishnah. Rochatz Rabbi Gamliel, who was discussing that he said that he was different than other people. That he said, even when I got married, I said Kriya Shema. So we're considering different things that Rabbi Gamliel did. Rochatz Leil Harishayin, Shemei Seishtay. Rabbi Gamliel, he went ahead, and he actually washed himself. He actually washed himself the day that his wife died. And the he's in Aval. Now Aval's Asa Rechitza. So I'm going to Talmidah, Matenu Rabbeinu Sha'aval Asa Lerchitz, and others Asa to wash. How could you wash? So I'm going to him, Eini Keshabin Adam. I'm not like normal people, like Istanis in the I'm an Istanis. So Rashi, let's see, what's it Istanis? Right? What's it Istanis? Let's see Rashi and Taisus. Rashi tells us Istanis Ani. Right? Who adam unig umefunik, a person who is into einig, umefunik, he's a fine shmeka. He doesn't, things don't go well for him. Taisa says that who's an istinus, but ikit sar im rochitz. He'd have to be in sar if he didn't go. The ena isur lerchitz b'me'avelei al mishut tanug. The isur of this isur of tanug, of pleasure, bathing for pleasure. If you're bathing for other reasons, because it's sar, the gamlacha foishoy, right? The istacha ervuve b'risheh. Let's say you have some type of a skin condition in your hair, in your scalp, then shari be permitted. It's a tremendous heta. We're holding now in the 9 days. It happens to be the 9 days in the year to touch and pay base, and you're permitted to go ahead and wash your hair. And many paiskim bisman hazeh say people can take showers because they're not showering because of tanug. They're showering because of they're used to taking showers because they're istinus, together in istinus. They go ahead and they sweat. It wasn't like pleasure taking. Let's say take once a week. It's a big pleasure. They take all the time. There's a big het that is manazeh. We go ahead and be able to take showers in the 9 days. But it's interesting when this is an istinus, the person who's in the funik. The Rush brings in the Shem Rabbeinu Chananel, she istinus who adam nisukin. The person is not in danger. He needs the rechitza for a fuah. So that would, according to everybody, that would be like that's a no-brainer. Will be the Rush disagrees. Okay, so we have a shot in what an istinus is. Continue on some of the different minhagim of Rabbi Gamliel. Shemeis Tavi Av, the very famous Eved of Rabbi Gamliel goes Tavi. We'll meet him in the Sech Sukkah. Kibul of Tanflumim. He went ahead and he was makabel Tanflumim. Rabbi, even though be confident, Nichem Avelim is usually for a Jew and not for an Eved Kanani. Rabbi Gamliel was what? He was makabel Tanflumim for Eved. So I'm going to Tamidenu, Tamida was Talmud said to him, you taught us you're not makabel tadchumim on an evidence. So how can you do that? So Amalehem ein taviyav kishar kol avodim kashahu. He's not like a normal, right? He's a Talmud Chacham because covered at Torah and covered at Chum. That's very Yisrael. What do you mean? He's not kishar. He's a kasha, more than a kasha. Yes, it's better Talmud Chacham because it's covered at Torah. He's makabel tadchumim. Chasan and Moitzel Likos Kriyashma Laila Rishon Kaira. Not everyone who wants to can. In other words, if you're going to go ahead, and it seems like Derek Chayrod, you can consider yourself a Balgaiva. Okay, it's not. I can deal with it. I can deal with the mitzvah. So without worrying. My time of the Rebbe Gamliel that he watched himself the night that his wife died. Kasava Anilas Laila Dirabanan. It's machlokes the Gemara in the Menachos whether Aninus is the first night after the Petira. Aninus is the day of the Kfura, but it's the Rabbanon the Raisa. He held it's the Rabbanon, and therefore, since it's the Rabbanon, he watched the Chsiv Bachrisa Kiyoymar. That Aninus is like a day of bitterness. The Makam Isnus like goes with Rabbanon, and in the place of Isnus they weren't Geyser. Paisu says even according to the Yom Aninus Laila is the Raisa. That's only letting in a chil of Maisa Sheni. It won't be letting in Rechitza. So why do you need to tell me that Aninus is the Rabbanon? Even the Raisa should not be a problem. And the Taisus answers no. If Aninus was Aninus was the Raisa, the call to Tikkun Rabbanon came the Raisa Tikkun. If it was the Rabbanon, so therefore it was the Raisa. So call to Tikkun Rabbanon converts it Tikkun, and therefore you'll be also to wash. Mashenkin, now if it's the Rabbanon, you'll be able to wash. Shemeis Tavi Abda, he was Makabel Tachnunim. That means when they came back from the Beis HaKvaris, they made a shura, they made a line around the oval, and they were menachem him, when he get home, they made a suda savra, a suda from their funds. Abad mishvachas ein oinam alein b'shura. Abad mishvachas, you do not have they die. You do not make the shura after the burial. Ein oinam alein brechas avelim, and you don't make the sudas havra that dafches and ksubis. You don't make the sudas havra the tinchume avelim. Ma'asu Mesa Shibchasish Shel Rabbi Eliezer Nichnasu Talmidav Lenachamai. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkinus, great Tana Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkinus, he lost the Shivcha, and the Talmid came to him and after him. However, the halacha is you're not supposed to. So what did he do? Kivin Shroisam Allah Aliyah. He went to an attic. He wanted to go ahead and avoid them being menachem him. And they followed him after him. Nichnas Lan Pilan, this little house before the opening. He went into this little house. They didn't get the hint. Nichnas the tracklin, he entered the tracklin, and Nichnas Uachra, Amlem, Kimadumani, She'atem Nechavim Paishim, that you're going to get burnt in Paishim. In other words, you don't take a hint very easily. I gave you a remez, and right, Achshav, Yatem Nechaves, Afilu V'cham. In the end, you don't understand with such a big remez that you get burnt in really hot water. Like actually, now the Paishim is a little remez, the hot water is a big remez. That I repeated, try to avoid you. Like Hachshnis then I not teach you avodim ushvachos ein oidim aleim b'shura, ein oidim aleim birchas avelim, loy tetchumi avelim. Ma shomer aleim. What should you say about avodim? Kishem shomer leila adam al shoyer v'chamoray shemesu. Just like a person loses an ox or loses a donkey and they die, Hamokam yamalil chachas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should go ahead and fulfill your loss. So too you say, that's what you say, no nicham. Tanya idach, another vaisa. You don't say hespegim for them. Yes, yomer, in every kosher, you know, you say oimim, hoi, whoa, you sigh. Ish toy v'nemon, v'nenemi miyagia. He was a good person, a nemon, and he ate from his own hands. So Amrullah, they told Rabbi Yossi and Cain, if you say this about Eved, ma'anach shem, might leave over for regular people. Mashma, that's already a hesped regular people. Tanraban, ain't current always shalom Yisrael el l'shleisha. Only we say shleisha always Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov, not the shvatim. The incarnating Mahishal Yisrael only saw Rivka Rachel B'Leah and no one else. That's what you say. Only those things. Only those things you say always, nothing else. The Rabbi seems to say that if a person says in the Tefillah, Misha Ana L'Ruvain, you don't say Avinu. Misha Ana L'Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Avinu, but you don't say by Ruvain Avinu. The Rashba has a taina. It says the you never say by the Imois Rachel Imenu. You don't say like them. Yet you should be saying that's the pshat. So therefore, he brings the Rashba brings Hashem High going. That's only for covered ba'alma. That the only ones who are chashiv to be are the Avos Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. One sort of shot that the job of the Abbas was to go ahead and take care of the chet of the Nachash. The Nachash placed in Chava what's called Suhama, and therefore there was a shmutz, there was a disgust in the Umas Olam. And the only way to get rid of it was through the Machloikas Gemara and Shabbos, and whether it's the Abbas or it was Har Sinai or both. So what happened? What did the Abbas do? Avram had a Yishmael that took care of part of it. Yitzchak had an Esav that took care of the rest of it. Yaakov, Haisa, Yishtach Yisrael Rosh Hamita, Al Shaisa Mita Shleima, that the world tzaddikim. So therefore, they were the Avos because they purified the genealogy, getting rid of the Zahama that was placed in by the Nachash. Gemara Yevamah speaks out about the Gevoinim that they had terrible midas. They were not from Bnei Yisrael. Anu by Shanam Chasadim. We have the midah by Shanam Rachman Chasadim, and they don't have the midah. In fact, if you see a person that's particularly cruel, a Jew that's very cruel, you should check if there's yichus. Obvious my timer. What's the reason that we don't call the Shvatim Avos? If we come from Ruvain, we don't know where we come from. So it's just you don't call them because we just don't know. They're different. So yet we do say that Imais. So that can't be the reason. Ella ad like I just spoke at the Gimel Avos, they were chashiv. The Dalvan Imais chavushim hashuvim and the Imais were chashuvim. More than that, they want chashiv. Another baisa. Avod mishpachas in Karinusam Abba Ploni Ima Plinus. Never call an Eved. Never call an Eved Abba Plinus Ima Plinus. So we call Mar Ploni, Mr. So and so. Don't call an Eved like that. You know why? Because people are going to think you call him that way. You're going to be questioned about your lineage. I think he's your father. So they were chashuvim themselves. They won't go ahead and I guess get mixed up. Maisa Listar, Fred Gomer, Maisa Listar, you just said you shouldn't, and now you bring up Galil that you did. It says Gomer Mishum de Chashivi. Poshib Shad is the Avodim Chashiv, but it's mashma from the Lashon of the Rambam. It's mashma that what that Kosav Avodim Shvachos ain't Korim Lehem Abba Ploini Vima Ploini. This is the Rambam in Perik Dalet Halacha Hey for Nachles. The Ima Ploinish Layobi Min Adova Takala. The Nim says Ben Nifkam. This the Takala would be that this Ben who calls him daddy, they would think he's an Eved. The Fikach Poyu Avodim Bashvachos Chashuvim B'Yoser. If they were very chashiv, V'yesh them kol, and there's a kol that goes out V'chol Kahal Makir Noisam, and everyone recognizes them. That's Bnei V'Avdei Adoneihem. Going Avdei Hanasi Harry Elam with the liquor's name Abba Bring, but then you could. Okay. Rabbi Lezer, my said, the pasuk says, "Kain avarecha b'chai b'shimcha esa kapai." What does that mean? Kain avarecha b'chai is a kriya shema. Chai is like kriya shema. The Gemara tells us is like you kriya shema. You would be yotzi yechiyah of the Elimina Torah in the morning and the evening. So you see that kriya shema is like life, like Torah. And kacha avarecha b'chai is a kriya shema because the pasuk of Kain avarecha b'chai is speaking about Torah, right? Torah is Kain Chayenu, Ki Chayech V'Ach Yemecha, B'Shimcha Esa Kappa Yisu Tefillah, that's Shmona Esra, Inasa B'Lavenu El Kapayim, Pasuk and Eicha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because of your name, should fill our Kashos, but not because of us. The Moshe came, if you do that, Allah because of Aymer, the end of the Pasuk, next Pasuk, Mochele V'Deshen Taspia Nafshi, Kadosh Baruch Hu, it says, your Tefillah is so choshev, like fat. Like you're bringing a murim on the mizbeach. Tefillah is like mishum karbonis, a krumas adeshin that they run on the mizbeach, and tefillah is the makom karbonis. And in addition, should neichel shnei olamin be zeichel to neichel two olamin, olam hazeh, olam haba, shneimar, besifsei ranonos yehalol pi. Shtei ranonos. It says sisi ranonos, two songs, olam hazeh and olam haba. So too in Torah, ki chayach v'rachinecha, chayach b'olam hazeh, v'yachmecha l'olam haba. That's as I state in the Marsha. And we'll stop over here.